Welcome to the Truth About Social Ads podcast, where we talk about everything related to social media ads and give you the truth about what's happening in the world of ads.
Hey everybody, welcome to another episode of the Truth About Social Ads. Super excited for today's episode. We have a very smart man that's going to be on the episode today. Happy to introduce Dr. Kevin. He is the CEO and co-founder of MathTrack Institute, leading apprenticeship pathways that rethink teacher preparation and degree pathways. A former math professor, so that means he's really smart. He partners with universities and districts to advance math as a creative force. Dr. Kevin, nice to have you on today. How you doing?
Good to be here. Thanks for having me on.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, I mean, I can say math was not my subject in school, at college, or in high school. So glad to have you on. It's cool to be chatting with super smart people here on the podcast like yourself. And yeah, I think today I was very interested to have you on. I think it's not like my normal episode where we just sit down and talk all things marketing, right, with brands and stuff. The reason why I really wanted you on is because very intriguing what you're doing, like in the math space, and what you started. So yeah, tell the audience who you are, what you're doing, and we'll take it from there. So
I think the introduction is actually kind of the point. The idea, right, of mathematics as an inaccessible discipline is one thing that I try to talk with a lot of people about. And intelligence and knowledge and those things are actually kind of being audited today to a certain extent with the way AI works and all of that. And my background is in obviously applied mathematics and that type of research. But I think knowledge, how learning happens, and the exchange between technology and these things is where I've really placed that expertise and work over the years. And the institute that I started does a lot of research and development for how a college degree can take place within the embedded nature of work. And that's the apprenticeship side of things. So an ancient technology that we've sort of remembered as being something that actually does work quite well. Applying that situated expertise into college credit and the development of individuals. We started in teaching, but we have apprenticeship-based degrees that work in other industries. And the reason that teaching is so important, I think, is because the work is it's super valuable, but not paid in terms of a value exchange that I think we can ever accomplish as a culture. So the idea that teaching is right up there in the top 5 of most important jobs. The other ones, I honestly, next to parenting and nursing and other things, are just as important or equally as important. But at a scale, we would probably bankrupt our cultures by trying to pay for that value. And so if we can get the process to become teaching as a very quality experience, but also, relatively cost neutral experience, then I think we're winning as a society. And that's something we've worked on for quite a while over the last 10, 15 years, is to figure out how to make the process to become teaching something that costs less than $20,000, but is of high quality, if that makes sense.
Yeah, no, absolutely. So you said earlier applied mathematics. So tell, including myself, like what exactly does that mean? Does that mean mathematics that's used in everyday life? Is that what applied mathematics is? Or is that like, how does that differ from another type of like degree or field of mathematics, I guess? Because when you say that, I think I logically get it, but maybe explain a little bit more exactly what applied mathematics is.
Yeah, so the difference between a degree that, or a degree pathway, I suppose, that is pure or applied,
Hmm.
um, the application of what you have as far as a doctorate can be theoretical. So you're creating a theoretical base for research, and often that is not based in the application side of things in terms of how it's used, or is it can or will it be used. And the time delay of theoretical is usually a couple hundred years before something that has been placed um, becomes operable. My
Mm,
side of things is that I'm very much a third generation kind of blue collar farmer.
Yeah, you're from Indiana, right? You live in
Yep.
Indiana. On Yep.
And so I'm based, a lot of my research is based in the idea that we want to be very sound in terms of application and research, but we want it to be applied, and we want
Hmm.
it to actually work with
Right.
human systems. And so that would be the differences I would describe it.
Got it. Okay, cool. Yeah, that's awesome. And then as far as you co-founding MathTrack Institute, um, explain exactly because you said, you know, does MathTrack Institute, is it like a college credit that somebody can get? Working with MathTrack Institute, like explain exactly what you guys are doing um, at MathTrack.
Yeah, so it's a blend. We've invented, so as an invention factory, if that makes sense. We've invented various ways that allow for innovation in higher ed, which higher ed lacks,
Hmm.
in our opinion. And the the credit bearing side of our apprenticeship allows for our partners, and we have accredited, regionally accredited institution partners. It allows them to bring that directly into their degree paths and other things,
Cool.
uh,
Okay.
so that you can get a college degree that's regionally accredited, which means it applies to, all different states as far as recognition. It
Hmm.
allows it allows that to happen. In teaching, that's important because regionally accredited degrees are required to get a license. And so you can
Right.
agree, but if it's not regionally accredited, then you can't get a license in several states, if that makes sense. And
Yeah.
so as a sort of an invention factory, which if you're an entrepreneurial, you have lots of ideas, but you've got to bring them to life in ways that are within
Yeah.
the constraints of the industries that you're working in, right?
Yep.
MathTrack Institute is certainly that. It is an institute that allows those things to happen as precedent for other, universities to utilize our pathways. And then we make technology and otherwise that sort of optimizes that. And
Hmm.
so with agentic engineering and other things, we close the gap between um, the teachers and the users of products and technology to the development team, and that gap is really important in ed tech because often those that are inventing and developing things in education technology are far removed from the actual work that's happening. And so that's our place, I think, in what we do.
Yeah. Okay. Cool. And so, how do people, like? Do they need to be in a mathematics type of field or field of study, or going for a mathematics degree to join MathTrack Institute, or is it something that they can add on to like their curriculum? Like, how does a college student or a student in general like do that with you guys?
Yeah, for the most part, we work with, on an enrollment stance, we work with people that have chosen to teach in some way. So all teachers at this point, we think elementary teachers are the most important math teachers that a young person comes
Really
across. And so
interesting. Yeah.
that's part of our framework. Um, if you're in a program, or if you've chosen to teach as a paraprofessional teacher or sub, then all
Hmm.
of our programs are valuable to you because you can become a core classroom teacher and get paid. Um, as that beyond what you would make as, you know, a sub or whatever. And so those are the most, probably the largest enrollment that we have. And then
Hmm.
we have this, I would say a transitional type of program that, um, might link to how you would have described yourself. So most people that are creative, are in the arts or other type of
Yeah.
liberal arts, domains, have said at some point they're not a math person or a STEM person or otherwise, and we
Yeah.
think that's a metaphor problem. So you've probably created in your mind what that means, and to
Yeah.
become that, you need a metaphor switch, right? And that
Right.
type of metaphor switch is mathematics is a way of augmenting your senses and a way of being, and it's not computation. And so
Right.
the idea of can I do or what's an easy example? Can I factor quadratics quickly? We don't care. What we
Yeah.
care is, are you creative? Can you think of the world this way, and can you orient? And that group
Yeah.
in population has found our work to be almost therapeutic, if that makes sense,
Yeah.
because they start to think of themselves that way, and then fields that they typically wouldn't have worked in or been open to become available to them, and they
Hmm.
thrive in those environments.
Interesting. Yeah, that's crazy. So do you think, well, I think you just explained it to me, but I'm going to ask anyways. So for me, for example, right? Never really liked math. Um, is that it was just more of a mindset thing. So what you're saying is I could probably be really good at math if I wanted to, if I just kind of said, okay, I'm going to learn this and, you know, I guess like anything else, right? Like you really learn it. So is there either you're good at math or you're not, or is it more just of a mental capacity to say, I'm just going to learn it and get good at it?
I would say that almost anything, and you can think through this on your own experiences. You you learn and develop and sort of design a pathway to expertise based on interest, and the interest is in some way categorized by your experiences with who is exposing it to you. And you might even think in your own story, there was a third grade teacher or someone that told you that you weren't great at this in some way. And that shaped how you've experienced it.
Yeah,
And,
maybe.
and, and it would be interesting to hear, like, you probably came up with a name. It was either a parent or a elementary teacher or something that sort of shaped these things. And it may not have been an explicit conversation where somebody's like, "Hey, Jason, you're not good at this. Let's think
Yeah,
of
yeah.
something else." It may have been an
Right,
experience, like you got, 68% instead of 88%, in some sort of metric.
right.
And and so interest is based on those things. It's situated in our experience. What I believe is that mathematics is a way of augmenting your orientation and senses, which is an inherently human thing. Once you
Right.
come into that agreement, and I'm reasonably persuasive,
Yeah.
when it comes into that agreement, you'll realize that you're mathematical already, and then you'll actually decide based on what's in front of you whether or not it's worth your time to develop that further.
Yeah, that's crazy. Yeah. Yeah, I mean, I wonder if my mental block with math has to do with a little bit of like a money thing as well, Like I've never really been that good with money and I equate that to kind of math, and I'm like, I've definitely gotten better at it over the years, but maybe that's kind of my block, It's like um I don't know. My mind keeps kind of going back to like money. And so maybe that's kind of where it started for me. I'm not sure. But yeah, maybe you're right. Maybe I was told something or I don't know. Maybe my parents also pushed it on me too. Like, oh, I was never good at math, so you probably aren't going to be good at math either. You have my genes, right?
Yeah, it turns out
you
genetic.
know?
Uh,
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
also, we as adults and human beings, we have complex lives, and that's a good thing. But we also we displace at some point we displace blame because it's easy to do, right?
Right, right.
And so if you
Totally.
find yourself not good at something, you sort of have figured out over time that it's okay to say the following, you know,
Yeah,
and that's fine. I mean, that's the way we are, and
right.
uh, inherently being human is a wonderful thing. But it's worthwhile to actually label and understand and if you can't displace blame in a way that mathematics is genetic, then what can you do in terms of
Right.
understanding your place in it? And that's kind of our framing is if we remove that doubt, then
Mhm.
what can you be? And a lot of
Right.
people find that they can be incredibly impactful in their local community, either as a teacher or otherwise, and that's a good thing. And it feels good to provide that sort of internal justice, if that makes sense to other people.
Yeah, for sure. Well, I mean, I don't know about the audience, but for me, a light bulb just went off in my head kind of as you're talking about um, the psychology of math, I guess, on somebody. So I'm actually, I'm kind of motivated now to get better at it and to apply myself a little bit more. I mean, I'm 50 years old, but I think I could definitely, um, step up my game as far as math goes. So I'll probably send you an email in a few months and say, hey, guess what? guess what I'm doing? To try and get better. But yeah, that's so interesting. It's kind of like, oh, if you're not good at a sport, oh, it's genetics. But actually, if you listen to the top guys in sports, yes, sometimes genetics is cool, but it's actually just hard work and practice that usually gets them really really good.
That's right.
Um, you
Yeah,
know,
they talk about structures between, and I pay attention to this too as a kid that grew up in Indiana. And well, it's March as well, right? So the
yeah.
basketball framework.
Oh yeah, March Madness. Yep.
You know, should you have your kids in travel teams and
Mhm.
everything else, and the reality is if they're shooting for 4 or 500 shots a day, that's better, and the top talent has accepted that you can become an expert or a balanced expert at something. You can't overcome that you're not 6'10". That's genetic,
Right.
right?
Right.
In terms of cognitive and otherwise learning domains, what you want to be great at, you can, and that's the great humanity that I want people to know. You meet me, and I have a mathematics PhD and other things, and people give me labels. Um, I'm
Yeah. Well, I
surprised,
did, to be
and
honest,
it
Yeah.
is. It's fine. I don't
Yeah.
accept them only because I think you would gather that from us hanging out together differently, and maybe I validate those labels or maybe not. But uh, anyone can learn anything if they're interested enough to put the work in.
Right.
And
Right.
mathematical domains and STEM domains are perfectly capable. And in fact, I would invite, I hope, many others that consider themselves creatives to apply to those domains because we need it as a society,
Yeah.
um,
Totally.
if that
Yeah.
makes sense.
Yeah. No. Yeah. Absolutely. That's pretty cool, actually. So now on the marketing side, um, obviously you're not running any paid ads, which again we kind of chatted before we started the show. Like, there's all kinds of different ways to market, Math Track or yourself or anything. What are you guys currently doing? You had said that you have a group of teachers that you collaborate with, and uh, explain exactly what you're doing there with these group of teachers. Like, what do you guys got going on?
Yeah, there's an ed tech or education. You have large, sort of what I would call icon brands, right? And icon brands can, in terms of longevity, they've got uh, Purdue University, for example, or others,
Purdue,
uh,
yeah.
my
Yep.
alma mater, right? They have
hmm
airstrips named after Amelia Earhart. So you've got an icon long-term like brand that
Yeah.
you can stand on. Whether it's valid or not, human beings wrap themselves around brands in that way.
Yeah.
That's okay. It's good to understand. If you are an innovative new startup in ed tech or otherwise, and you don't have the ability to have Amelia Earhart landing strip outside of your office, that's
Yeah.
okay. But you need to understand that that isn't something that you can tax or utilize. And so our marketing is about building um, really an ecosystem of users that find value. And so that would be the school community, SKOOL, um, around 100 teachers who find value of interacting with each other in the ways that we do. I've got, several thousand subscribers to a LinkedIn newsletter and that side of things.
That's
And so
cool.
you wanna continue to, like, communicate in that way, but you have to
Yeah.
build your expertise or your following not based on some promised, delivery on an old brand, but on
Yeah.
expertise in a very niche and capable area. And that's how we think about marketing is in ed tech. If if you have a legacy brand, then you'll see those types of marketing tactics. If you don't,
Right.
then you have to really build it around the applied research capability that you are theoretically sound, but
Mhm.
um, very much applied capable. And that's what we've built our marketing and sales engine on is our success. We've been around for about 8 years now, and that's not a long time comparatively to other institutions. But in regard to the ability of a startup to be around that long and
Yeah.
outpace your mistakes from revenue, as you would know,
Yep.
um,
Yep.
that means you're onto something, and we
Absolutely.
be able to communicate that.
Yeah, that's awesome. Well, the average small business goes out of business. They say if you make it past 3 to 5 years, you're usually good.
Right,
It means yeah,
right.
like you said, you've got a good thing going on. You've got, you kind of got all the inner workings down and you're doing a good job. So, yeah, that's super awesome. So, how do people find you? Like, if they're in another school group, can they search, or like, how do people actually how are people joining your group, for example, right now on school?
Well, we balance a mixture of, and again, trust is built sort of the way that you and I are doing right now, right? So if you're going to change the way that you think about or orient life, um, you need to have established trust. And so I'll do a lot of presentations and other things at national conferences, and then we'll generate from that
Nice.
trust
Okay.
because people have
Yeah.
been in the room and sort of, experience the presence of what I'm talking about.
Right.
And so we build it that way. We build it through clients. So if you've got an 80,000 student district in Florida, like one of our, clients, you've got
Hmm.
1,200 teachers that are getting
Right.
access to what we're doing. Um,
Cool.
and so that's another way. We do post and distribute a lot on LinkedIn and otherwise, and that's information. So if it comes across your desk and it sparks something, there's a high
Yeah.
likelihood that you'll be interested. Um, but in one way, access, word of mouth, and trust are all intertwined in education. And so,
Yeah.
if a trusted person, like your boss or otherwise, says, "Hey, you should take a look at this," that's a real win for us.
Right.
And that's why on the apprenticeship and degree pathway side, we work directly with a B2B sense of
Hmm.
the employer, and the employer then communicates that to teachers and others.
Yeah, that's awesome. Well, and like you said, speaking is a form of marketing as well. You're on stage, people don't know who you are, you establish trust with them, and they go, "Oh, wow, this guy actually knows what he's talking about." I wanna find out more information. So they say that speaking in front of a large crowd is actually better than anything you can do in the marketing side of things,
Yeah,
because
in that sense, if you've ever been in this situation, when you experience somebody where you say the words like, "This guy gets it,"
Mhm.
you're more likely
Yeah.
to enact some change of behavior or otherwise.
Yeah.
We're based in a lot of explicit and otherwise embedded work. And I think the most interesting thing for me is, can you invent something that has a deep theoretical sense and grounding, but is inherently applied in its capability? If you can
Hmm.
actually do that, that's the height of intelligence. And so for me, and how I would define that, if you're in a space with me and we're hanging out and you're like, this guy gets it, it's because I put, decades of work into making
Right.
something consumable
Yeah.
and
Thousands
useful.
of hours. Yeah. Hmm. Yeah, that's pretty cool. I love the way you keep talking about application. Because you're right. I mean, I think that's the coolest thing is inventing something, but can you apply that into your daily life or career or, enjoyment, whatever you're doing? I think that's super, super awesome. Um, yeah, no, that's really cool. A lot of light bulbs for me going off today, actually. So, which is super cool. Um, awesome. So you got your school group. You're speaking, on stage, which is really cool. And you've got some LinkedIn stuff going on, which is awesome. And of course, if like I'm into what you're talking about on LinkedIn, my feed I'll come across you because the algorithm is going to feed me what, it's smart as well. And it's going to feed me that type of information.
That's right.
So I think that is a cool way of doing it as well. And I like your examples because yes, we do on this show, we talk about paid marketing, but you're kind of a testament that you don't necessarily need paid marketing to make it work, right? Word
It
of
depends on
mouth,
the industry.
trust. Yeah.
It
Yeah.
Trust is built in otherwise storytelling. I published a book in 2025 that's called The Age of Storytellers. That's also done quite well without, a typical publishing and marketing approach. And only, I think, the only reason that you would buy or download that book is because the trust has been built and you want more, right?
Yeah.
And
Right.
that
Right.
wanting more can obviously happen as you join our programs or other things, but hanging out with somebody that speaks to you in certain emotional ways can be done through buying a book and reading more and getting that exposure as well. And we actually published. I wrote that book based on that idea. Is if you wanted to have a long conversation um, with me in a sort of non personal sense, then that book
Hmm.
will be something that you could do. And um, should people
Yeah.
want
We'll
to
we'll
do
link.
that, that's good, right?
Yeah, for sure. We'll link the is it let's see, the art of storytelling, right? That's what you said. I was writing it down.
The age
Um,
the age of storytellers. Yep.
the age of storytelling. Okay. Age. Okay. I was writing it down. I was looking down, not ignoring you. I was looking down to write to write the book down.
Alright.
So, um the age of storytelling. Yeah, that's super cool. So if someone wanted to get a copy, is it on Amazon? Like where is it? Is it yeah, okay. So we'll link the Amazon, we'll put an Amazon link in the show notes if anybody in the listening wants to get it. I'm gonna grab it. I'd love to read it myself. So I'm sure I'll be following up about that as well. But awesome. That's super cool. How long ago did you write that?
Well, we sort of thought of it as a business card. You can hand out a card or you can hand out a book. And so the work that we've done, that I've done since, the last 2 decades has always spoken to people, but putting it into a book that you can take with you, became important as success and growth happened. And so I finally published it. We're coming up right at a year anniversary of that publication date.
Sweet.
And
Okay.
so it's been out on Amazon. It's done quite well. We send it to anyone that comes into our programs. Um, we hand it out at events and other things. But the relative interesting surprise is that there are people that are buying it because they come across it, and
That's
that's
awesome.
also a really useful, um, you know, great outcome in certain ways, right?
Yeah, heck yeah. No, it's always cool for people to find you and then actually buy something of yours. That's pretty awesome.
It's a
Um,
validation in certain ways by action.
yeah, yeah. Well, hopefully we'll get a few people that are listening here that'll go out and buy it on Amazon. That'll be pretty cool. So if you see a few books bought on Amazon, that would be super awesome for you.
Yeah,
Um,
I'll know who to blame.
yeah, no to blame. Yeah, send me an email. Um, Well, hey, Dr. Kevin, I appreciate your time today. I think the stuff that you're doing is super cool. Again, not like the normal everyday conversation of like, hey, how much are you spending on ads and what are you guys doing? That's why I really wanted you to be on because you go beyond that, which is super cool with what you guys are doing, helping teachers, stay educated and keeping their students engaged, which is super cool as well. And yeah, thanks for being on. So if let's take it one step at a time here. If someone wants to get a hold of you, how would they get in touch with you personally?
Yeah, I think the easiest way is my last name, which is hard to pronounce, but is relatively
I know
unique.
I butchered it and I just skipped it when I did the intro because I'm like, you know what, I'm just gonna butcher it again.
No, you're good.
Oh,
Uh,
yeah.
Berkopes is a very unique name.
Yes.
Uh, in one way, if you Google me, you can find me, which is super nice, right? There's
Yeah.
probably a decent amount of no offense, Jason Smiths, but
Oh, there is too many.
so
Yeah.
Kevin Berkopes or Doctor Berkopes, there's one of us as
Yeah. Okay.
and so you can find us that way. MathTrack Institute is obviously our institute. The
Yeah.
community is called Math as a Creative Force on School,
I
and
was gonna say, yeah, that would
that's
be my
lots.
next one. Where can they
Mhm.
find you on school? So math is
And
a
then
creative force.
that's
Okay.
right. And in LinkedIn we have obviously my name as the front, but the Age of Storytellers is the newsletter that has several thousand subscribers to
Sweet.
it.
Okay.
Those are the ways that I think are most useful. That's kind of the social object of where I
All
can
right.
people. And then if it speaks to you in certain ways, you can buy our book and the Age of Storytellers is a good you just go on Amazon and search that and you'll
Yep.
find it.
Awesome.
And it's an orientation thing. I think there's a lot of people therapeutically that may not want to be teachers or otherwise, but they've thought of themselves in a particular way. I think where we're heading as a society, this is going to be useful um, with AI and other things. And if you can orient yourself to being a maker of these types of things, it's going to
Hmm.
be a high benefit in the next 5 years. And there's a lot of really creative people that I hope wrap their arms around that.
Yeah, that's awesome. Cool. Well, we'll put all this in the show notes to make sure everybody has the information to be able to get a hold of you, Dr. Kevin. And yeah, thanks again for being on. Love what you guys are doing. Keep up the good work. And I will definitely go to Amazon and buy the book. So I'm reading the AI driven leader right now, which is
There you
pretty
go.
good so far. So if you haven't gotten a copy of that, it's pretty cool book. I'm about halfway through it right now. And yeah, again, Kevin, thank you so much for being on. I appreciate you.
Yeah, it's a great pleasure. I appreciate the conversation.
Yep. All right. Thanks.
Yep.
Thank you for listening to the podcast. We'll see you again next time. Be sure to subscribe to get future episodes.